All right, so I love this photo. This is Loyola and Johns Hopkins at Homewood Field. Um, and I show you this photo to say things change, right? We are still playing this game, but this is not the same game that we were playing a couple of years ago. This is not the same game that we were playing 100 years ago. And so you got to stay up with what the powers that be want you to be watching and what everybody thinks is sort of the best way of doing something. And so, don't go into this thinking like, well, somebody else told me this, or this is wrong, or that was wrong. I want you to go into this thinking, this is kind of a new way to be looking at stuff. And down the line, it's probably going to change. But for right now, this is kind of things that we would like you to be paying attention to and thinking about. So, what are your keys to success, right? You got to work together in a three-man game. You're going to spend a lot of time looking off ball. So, in a best case scenario, I'm not worried about what my partners are calling and where they're looking because I know they're going to be doing what they need to do. Now, that is the best case scenario. There are three-man games where I am concerned with where one of my partners is looking. Okay. But the best case would be everybody focuses on their keys. You have to communicate effectively, particularly among yourselves. Okay. And you have to hustle. If you're routinely behind the play, if you get stuck on single and you cannot run up and down, and go goal line to goal line for, 5, 6 minutes, then the advanced stuff is probably not for you. Okay. Being in physical shape is a really important part here. Um, Echo and mimic everything. I don't know how many folks that I have watched on film or observed or worked games with where they don't do the ready point all the time. You have to do the ready point. The I am ready and we are going this way. If it is a dead ball and not your restart, if I look at you, you should be pointing. Otherwise, you should have your hand in the air. Those are the only two options. Every single official on the field should give the gain to the box signal every time somebody steps it in, right? If you have a count going and you are ending a count, everybody's got to give that signal so that your partner knows that over and back's now a thing, that everybody knows the count's over, that the coaches know the count's over. Everybody has to do that. Everybody's got to give the reset twirl on every change of possession. Okay. Possession on a face-off. Everybody should wind their arms. Everybody should announce the penalty release time. You should say it to the box and the table. You should repeat it to the players and your team. If you have a tipped ball, every single person should be giving the tipped ball, and every single person should be doing keep it in, right? That's easy to do. And that's every game. I don't care if it's two-man or three-man. You should do that on every game. And if you're not doing that, that's a problem that you need to start focusing on so that you can build that muscle memory, and you don't even have to think about that anymore. So let's talk about the coin toss. Okay, we don't really talk about this. Another great resource, by the way, is the GLOA game guide. You can download that PDF off of our resources page, and it covers literally every subject that I'm about to go through. So on the coin toss in the lineup, everybody's got to work together. Okay. And I see a lot of games where no one really knows what they're doing and we're kind of wandering around out there. This is a moment when the entire stadium and all the coaches and all the players are watching us. And so when we talk about professionalism, this should look smooth. Um, And everyone needs to focus on their keys. Everybody's got a job to do, and we'll go over that, right? You want this to be smooth. So you're all hanging out by the box. You've just certified the table, or maybe you've just put your keys down and your water bottle. Um, Everybody has a job to do when we are doing the captains. Now, I'm assuming we've already certified the coaches, right? And we say, hey, I tend to say, hey, we're going to get your captains right now because I want to get out of everybody's way. Okay. So the referee is going to go to the middle of the field. The field judge and the umpire are going to go to their respective sides of the field at the wing lines. Don't go wandering into their huddles. Don't go wandering into where they're practicing. Call the captains to you at the wing lines. Yeah, use your voice. You don't got to be crazy. You say it once and everybody knows it's coming and they're all going to echo and the coaches and the other guys and the assistant coaches are all going to be like, "All right, Frank, come on, 31, right?" Um, Once they come to you, you introduce yourselves to these guys. You can do the fist bump, you can do the handshake. I say, "Hey, I'm Greg. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you." I say, "Who's the speaking captain?" Right? And then you will walk the home team out. So the umpire will come out because we know they're going to be facing the sub box, the table. And as you walk out, you say, "Mr. Referee, here are the captains from home team." And you say, "Speaking captain, why don't you stand there?" Now, there's no rule or rhyme or reason to where the referee stands. I always tend to like standing facing the clock, so I have an idea of what the time is. Okay. But you just make sure that you go to the opposite side of where the referee is standing, and you've already introduced yourselves to the home team, and the referee goes boom, boom, boom. Hey, how you doing? As the blue team is walking out, you're going to have the visiting team come up here, right? And now the field judge can introduce himself to the home team, and the umpire and the referee introduce themselves to the visiting team, right? It's not everybody crossing and over, and we don't know which way to go and all that sort of stuff. The speaking captain should know where they're going to stand because you're spending a minute with them, chatting with them. Hey, how's your season going? Everybody doing okay? You guys excited for this game? That kind of stuff. Hey, who's the speaking cap? 41, you're going to want to stand next to that guy. And when you do the lineup, same thing. There isn't a team on this planet that knows um, where where they're supposed to line up or what left shoulder to the goal you're defending means. Nobody has told them any of this information. So stop being surprised when they don't know how to line up. If you are the umpire and you know that you have the home team and they are facing the goal, they're going to be defending the goal to our right. That means their left shoulder should be going to the right side of the screen here. And so you should say, "White, you're lining up right on me. Goalie, you're down standing next to me." And then everybody will line up appropriately. The same thing when the red team here walks out. The field judge should be saying, "Goalie, you're down by the referee. Red, you're facing out. You're facing away from the box." Um, it looks terrible. That being said, I screwed this up 2 days ago at Woodward. I just haven't gotten the film yet. Of I thought one team was defending one goal and they weren't. So, things happen. But I will tell you, everybody noticed. I noticed that I had screwed it up. So this is what you should be talking about before they walk out there. Okay. The other thing that you need to know is once they're out there, it is the umpire and the field judge and the referee's responsibility to know that the in-homes are on the field. So you should be as you're walking out there to get ready, you should be like, "I need 4 blue and 10 red." If they're not out on the field, we're going to have to talk to the coach and say, "Coach, your in-home is not out on the field. Would you like to give me a different number?" It's not a penalty. You're just saying, "Hey, you want to change this?" Sure. Okay. Right. And then you're going to go to your positions. Okay. So this is kind of what it looks like. This is When you do the coin toss, here, let me turn this way down. When you do this coin toss, there's a couple of things you need to remember these days. A, there are two video cameras recording what you are saying. This could go on social media. This could, people could take a look at this. Um, and, right now is when everybody notices, are we all wearing the same uniform? Is everybody dressed appropriately? Does everybody look like they can run? Does everybody look confident and in control? Right? Does somebody have a deer in a headlights look? That's what you are setting the tone for the game with this event. So let's make sure that we do this the right way. If you have questions, I say go back to the game guide. It's really hard to find film of this because most teams cut it off before they get to send stuff to huddle. So I don't really see a lot of the film of this. So if you know of some, let me know. But let us know if you've got questions about this. Ask your R's. Go over this. Go over this. It's really important. All right, goal responsibilities, right? We got a primary goal official, and then we have a secondary goal official, right? The single and the lead work together. It is not one guy's call or another guy's call. Okay. Um, we have two guys down there because it's really easy to miss stuff. Okay. And so you got to focus on what you need to focus on. If you're the primary goal official, that is your responsibility. If you have to go to the end line as the lead, the single becomes the goal official that is responsible for the goal. Okay. You can't stay 20 yards out if you suddenly become the goal official. You have to be dynamic. Um, if you're not the goal official, and we'll talk about this in a sec, you should probably be watching above the crease. You should be looking for picks and interference and that sort of stuff, right? Remember, there are all sorts of places that you might go. The lead is going to go to the end line. They can back out at a 45-degree angle. They might have to go all the way to the sideline. They may slide up above GLE. The single may have to become the lead official. The single is never going to go below GLE. That is not your deal. That is the only difference between those two guys is the lead is the only one who has the end line. Okay. Single is the only official who can officiate the far sideline. And if we get something like potentially over and back, the single's got to be able to get to the midline quickly. Okay. Um, so put yourselves in position and be dynamic, right? Focus on what you need to focus on. Right. So the trail has the midline and the near sideline. The lead is the only person who's going to have the end line, and the single's the only person who's going to have the far sideline in settled play. So goal officials, right? Where should you be standing? Lead, you are a foot above or a foot below GLE, right? You're not on GLE because then you're just looking at an orange pipe. Um, I think the sweet spot for the lead is right around the hash marks. Um, uh, if you're not as quick, you can be a little further out. If you are sort of all the way out by the numbers, you are too far away. Like you are too far away if you're standing at the numbers and you've got a bunch of bodies lying in the crease. Okay. Now you may go out to the numbers because you get pushed out, but if you can move back in, you should be moving back in. I see a lot of people, they get pushed out and they just stand there. The old thing that we used to tell people is if you see grass, mow the lawn. Okay. If you can slide in there, slide in there. You should not be standing still as a goal official. Single, 3 to 5 yards above GLE, unless you're the primary, in which case you position yourself like a goal official. You're right on GLE and as close as the play will allow you, depending upon the play that you've got. Right? You have to become comfortable working with players around you. I see a lot of guys backing out like they're terrified that they're going to get run over. You've got to be used to kind of being a little bit in the mix, right? So that's what we're going to do if the lead goes to the end line. So here are some good examples, right? Here is a lead that is comfortably at the hash. So look at the far side of your screen here. The other sideline is where the lead is. And this player is going to come around. Lead never moves. If you're at the hash mark, for the most part, you're okay, right? I mean, this kid comes around, he's right on GLE. That official is not in the way and is in great position to see what's going on. The single is a little far out, but he's also got a really nice view, and he's not the primary goal official. Okay. So this is I mean, our lead never moves here, and that's great. Here's the lead backing out a little bit, but not a lot. Couple of steps, and then you just slide right back in, right? And suddenly here we come. Back up on GLE, right? This is an open set. We don't have offensive players near the crease. You can be a little wider, but don't think that you can be in one spot as this changes and that you're going to be okay. You have to respond to what is happening on the field. All right, here is another example. Right, lead is right on the hash mark, and the ball is going to come from X. Again, not in the way, right? Not in the way. And you still have, let's go back to sort of here. If this guy rolls away and comes right at you, you can back out to the sideline. You can step above him upfield, get out of the way, and just slide back and follow the play. But you don't have to feel like you can't have anybody around you. Okay. And here's an example of some traffic, and then the official returns to the spot that they should be at, right? So I think we're in great position here. Backs out, and then what do? We come right back into where we need to be, right? And here we are. Great position. That's all we're asking you to do down there. But you have to respond. You might get pushed out. Do not set up shop there. You've got to come back in. Know where your spots are and get to your spots. Again, mechanics are the best case scenario. So you've got to find ways to put yourself in position to know what you're looking at, to know where you're supposed to be looking, and what gives you the best spot to do that. Um, Look, be conscious of passing lanes. Think about what you can see and what your partner cannot see on the crease. Here's an example, right? Lead is here, and there's a guy even with him, but above GLE. I'm fine with that, right? I might worry that if it looks like the play is going to go to X, that I might be in the way. So I might back up or back into the crease or back towards the end line. If the ball is going to start coming my way, I'm going to react to the play as it happens. You don't want to be spinning around and you don't know what's happening and you're just trying to get out of the way. That's not what we're looking for. That's what we call being lighthoused. Um, but you can have players pass behind you. It happens when you're the lead. Remember, in settled situations, the trail has the sideline. So as the lead official, you are not responsible for getting out to the sideline. And the single here, not the goal official, so they're going to be watching that high crease area, right? The single is also going to be helping out with that high crease area. The reason three men mechanics are important is because there's a lot of shenanigans going on the crease. Okay. In this situation, The lead has got to go down to the end line and see what's going on, right? And the single becomes the primary goal official. So the only person that really gets to watch the crease and see if we're setting illegal picks or if defenders are interfering is the trail official here, right? Um, Really, again, this is about being a good off-ball official. Three officials cannot all be watching the same thing, right? So what teams are going to do is try to screw around in this area right here. Um, and what you'll happen is you'll get a drive upfield, right? And one of these blue guys is going to try to get in the way of that defender. He might be running to say, "Ooh, throw it to me, throw it to me." And he rubs the shoulder of that guy and um, knocks him off his slide. He's the slide. And you can't interfere with a defender unless your feet are set. Um, this is a really hard call to make. And so you want to make sure that is that incidental contact? Are both these guys really going for the ball? Or is this guy getting in his way? And is that what the play is? Okay. And you're also going to see, if you have a play where somebody gets a wide open shot and you're like, where did the slide come from? Why didn't the slide get that guy? This is the play I'm talking about. How did guy get so wide open? That is a question we need to be able to answer when we go over to the coach. Because one of them's going to be saying that's a legal screen, or he was just trying to catch the ball. He was option one. And the other guy's going to be like, that's a moving screen. He's interfering with my guy. Okay. Um, Restarts. Restarts are something that we control. We are not managing this, right? One of the things I think that, if you want to be a good lacrosse official, stop trying to prove that you're in charge and just be in charge, right? When a guy comes running in off the field and is like, oh, blow the whistle, blow the whistle. Step back, plant your feet. Okay, here we go. You don't need to get mad about it. You don't need to be angry about it. That doesn't prove that you're in charge. Getting them to do what you want them to do proves that you're in charge, right? And oftentimes that is a lot more calmer and less mean than screaming and yelling and throwing flags. So, a couple of things we need to know on restarts. Where is the ball supposed to be? Can't be any offensive player within 5 yards. We can have defensive players, but if we got a defensive player that's close to a guy on a restart, there can be no doubt as to whether or not he is 5 yards away when you blow that whistle. Um, who has the restart? We'll talk about that. It changes a lot in three-man mechanics, right? Here's my favorite. Be in position to manage it. Don't be 30 yards away when you can be 5 on the end line and you're the new trail and you are literally not going anywhere. Be there. On slow restarts, we'll talk about this, man up, substitution box, timeouts. I like the ball in my hand. I don't leave it on the field. I don't say it's over there. I pick it up and I have one of my officials hold it in their hand, and then they are going to give the ball to the person on this kind of slow restart. Okay. The amount of shenanigans that cuts out is a lot. Um, so restarts and settled play. Remember, if it's here in the middle area of the field, that's the trails ball, but we don't want to restart it right in front of the goalie. So don't start it in this red area. This is why we're always moving it to the corners. Okay. Um, if you're in an alley, that's going to be, in this case, the singles restart. Okay. If it's in here, we're going to move it out laterally if it is going to the offense. That's one of the things they changed. We are always going to move it laterally. You're never going to bring it above the defensive restraining line if you have a foul in the box. Okay. Um, if the defense gets it, they can start it in their crease, right? They can start it in the box. And if it's on the end line, okay, it restarts at the spot that it came out. Now, if it's a defender who's clearing and no one is around him, You can be 25, 30 yards away. If it's contested, you have got to put yourself in position as lead to officiate that play. Okay. So here's a really good example, right? We're restarting the ball here on a clear. They're going to press this guy, and we are in great position to restart this play. We get him inbounds. He's not running. We know that it's 5 yards, right? And this is something that I'll tell folks, right? We talk about this. Let's say this is the first restart of the game. That's always going to be 5 yards now. Anybody who's that close is 5 yards, right? If you're inside that, that's going to be a delay of game flag. Okay. That's kind of your barometer now. And so you really want to make sure, like, there's no reason this should be less than 5 yards on a restart because all you have to do is be like, you should take a step back. That's going to prevent a lot of shenanigans. Here's a good right play by the lead official here. Run to the end line, right? Right on the line when you restart it. There's no reason for you not to be hustling to the end line every single time. Let's look at a second example. So, where do you restart it? In blue here, we're sort of going right to left. Um, in the blue here, I would give this up to the trail official and what we call the deep restart. Anything in red on this sideline, I think is the singles restart. So anything like above the 40, I'm pretty much taking as the single. In the area right on, like on, maybe to the 30, you can give it off to the trail official if you want to, or you could take it. You just have to communicate, right? Sometimes you'll see I'll tap on my chest. Um, uh, and I'll get guys doing that, right? I'll do this. Hey, on me. I got, or your whistle, your whistle. Um, this is a good reposition on a restart. And this is what I'm talking about, where you do not need to be angry. You do not need to be forceful. You do not need to use your scary man voice. You do not need to throw flags to be in charge. Watch where the ball goes out of bounds and watch where this kid tries to restart. Also, we're going to fix the cone. Oh, oh, oh. This is classic Herbert Phillips right here, right? Did he get him all the way back? No. Does he need to? No. But he's like, you're on this side of the line, buddy. Okay, that's where we're gonna do this. Um, I say every time a defender or attackman or midfielder comes in on a restart, I say plant your feet, and I put my hand up in the stop sign. You know what everybody does by the end of the game? They don't. I don't even have to say it. They just run in, stand there, hold their stick up, boom, off we go. Um, all right, so this is an example of the single restart, okay? Or the deep restart, I should say. So here we go. We got 27 is going to make a really errant pass. It's going to go out, right there. And here comes the signal. The signal's pointed the direction. He's going to reposition him. And then he is pointing to the trail saying, we're ready to go. Perfect. Perfect. Right? I will say, hard to see, but again, he's right there to see how far away these two players are. And if that's the distance we have allowed the entire time, then that's not a delay of game. If it is a delay of game. That's what we mean by sort of matching fouls and being consistent to what we have called in the game. You've got to be aware of all of those little things, those little nuances. You got to be constantly inventorying what fouls. So how does this work? We're going this way, right? Technically, this is a single sideline, but he's got to get to the cone. So trail, you can come a little in, right? And your eyes are just on that single, and his hand is up in the air. And when he is ready, you're going to blow the whistle. Okay. Um, Sub box. I've seen this a lot, and we need to do a better job as an association of really managing the sub box restart. Okay. There's a reason this rule and this mechanic is in place. This is not a quick restart, ever. I don't care how many coaches and players are screaming at you. It is never going to be a quick restart. You should be standing next to like physically standing next to the player who's restarting the ball. You have to make sure that they are moved laterally at least 5 yards from the sideline, and no players, A or B, can be within 5 yards. No one can be within 5 yards, right? We don't want somebody getting killed right at the sub box. So, uh, right, ball goes out of bounds, right? And okay, blue's going to get it. Trail needs to go with him. And Trail needs to say, whoa, this is not a quick restart. I need you to come right here. Sometimes I tell these kids to go to the wing line because that's a place they know. If you say come 5 yards, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. What direction? Point to a spot and say, I need you to stand right here. Make sure they have the ball and blow it in. Right? Now, if we are going the other way, the trail official needs to run up and he needs to say, all right, Red, it's going to be your ball. Stand right here. Boom. Whistle. Stand next to that player. Here's a great example of an official standing next to the player on the restart. So the ball's gone out of bounds. There's no rush. There is no panic. I need you to stand right here. I need you to go away. He knows the other guy's not going to do anything. It's a great restart. That guy knows he can't check him. The official's standing next to him. Okay. So great job. All right, let's talk about transition. Transition's really important, and there's a lot going on, and it's probably the hardest thing that we do. We got to pay attention to both goals. Got to pay attention to the passer, especially the goalkeeper, offsides. You got the sub box, you got sidelines and end lines, you got the Bermuda Triangle, and we're all counting. Okay, we're both counting players, and we got 20-second counts, 4-second counts, and 10-second counts. So this is just good three-man mechanics here. All right. So here we go. The trail should never get ahead of the ball. If you are the trail official, do not get ahead of the ball. And you don't want to get ahead of your single. So if your single is still holding the cone, stay on the defensive restraining line. This single does a great job of running all the way into position. The lead was down there dealing with the play at the end line, and we've come back, open set. Right? I think this is where this is what I would say when I said mow the lawn. I would like this lead official to be in a little bit closer position. I think the single's doing a really nice job. This lead is too far out. That's too far. Right? Um, Being the single, this is what a lot of people are looking for when you're getting observed. You want to do playoff games, you want to do varsity games, you want to do the high level good, quote unquote, good games. Um, this is what you need to be able to do, right? You're holding the cone, you got your count. You don't need to sprint in. Just do the TV jog. Give all the signals, right? You don't need to run around everybody. If that guy's not doing anything, you can slide right between those guys. Okay. Here's another great job. Single's going to run all the way in, but as the play changes, he's got to change where he's going. All right, let me do this first. Right, we give the signal, we're running in, we're going here all the way. The lead is bumped out. We come right into the spot where we need to be. He is the primary goal official because the lead official has been pushed all the way out. You can't set up at the numbers as the single in that position. Your position is determined by what your responsibilities are. And if you become the primary goal official, you got to be three big steps away from standing in the goal. That's what I like to be. If I need to be there, I want to be there in three sprints. Um, so, fast breaks. Sometimes you just got to go, into position. This is sort of where we normally are trying to line up, right? This is kind of what we're trying to get to before the ball is cleared. Um, As I said, the trail, you don't want to get ahead of your single. So you've got to find a spot to stop. Usually I stop at the bottom of the wing line and I'm just keeping an eye to see when my single releases. Okay. But right now we are in what I like to call the Bermuda Triangle. Nobody really knows what they're supposed to be looking at. The single can't really see the substitution box because it's 10,000 miles away. Um, the lead's got to keep an eye towards his goal, and the trail's got to sort of make sure he can get back to his goal. Um, I'm fine with three people throwing flags for a big hit here. There is no, well, I thought the single had that. Like, we're all looking at this. And so any one of us can have a big flag here. Okay. Any one of us can make a call. Right. And then we're getting into position. The trail is going to come up slowly. Slowly. If you come up as the trail and you do not know that a count has ended, ask. Hey, Frank, is he in? Good. Give the signal. Right? That's something you need to know. You need to know whether we still got a count going. Um, Great job holding the cone here. Right? You can go out of bounds. Tip tongue. And here he comes. We're going to run into our spot. Oh, wait a second. We're going to the sideline. I got to go to the sideline. Right. And then you see the lead starting to come in because he's like, the single's no help to me. And the ball's on the other side of the cage. I've got to come in if there's a play at the crease. All right. You're functioning as a team here. And then sometimes you're not going to have a situation where you need to stop at the cone. So sometimes you're like, oh, okay, we're just going here. And now you got to run. And I will tell you right here, both lead and single arrive at the same time. If your lead falls down or runs into a guy or needs to go to his sideline and gets held up, even if you are on the other side of the midfield line as the single, you become the primary goal official. You have got to be able to run down there. If you are a fast person, this is something that you can bring to the table, right? So this is for you young guys who don't have a lot of experience. You have legs. And if you know that, hey, I got to pay attention to what my single's doing here so that I can get down there. And it's sort of right around here is where you have to make the decision, right? Is this ball really going to the goal quickly? I may have to really put the jets on and go. Um, and then we've got, let's talk about the substitution area. So we've got a shot here, and the goalie saves it. And so trail's going to become the new lead, lead's going to become the new trail, single remains the single, and everybody is going to go to their spot. right? As the lead, I'm trying to get to basically the top of the box. The trail, I'm staying behind the ball. And the single, I'm trying to get to the cone. And we're going to like reassess at that point. Okay. But we got guys running off the field, and I've got a single who's or a lead who's running down, not particularly facing the right way. I've got um, a uh, a single who's responsible for the far side of the field, right? And I've got the lead right now is responsible for this sideline because the trail is focused on the goalie. So the lead has to have that substitution area. And if you're not looking at the substitution area as you run by, you've got to start making that a habit because you've got bodies coming off at full speed. And good for you if you've never had somebody taken out in the substitution area. But when you do, you'll be the only person not to see it. Everybody's going to see it on both sidelines and everybody's going to see it in the stands. We need to have eyes on that. It's really hard for the single. It's really hard. Um, and, the trail, he's watching the goalie with the ball, who's probably being harassed. He's got to have that shooter. So in the first part of the clear, the lead has the substitution box. And once the clear gets sort of developed, lead now needs to get to the goal. Single needs to get to the goal. It is now the trail's responsibility to watch contested subs. I don't care if one color is running on and off. The only thing I care about is multiple colors running on and off, or guys running off through people who are standing in the box. If a guy's running off and nobody's in the box, don't care, right? Very unlikely that that's going to be a foul. And then your trail, you're going to slide into position. Remember, as a trail, the lowest you are going to be is the 35, and the highest you are going to be is the wing line. I've seen way too many people at the 50-yard line. Way too many people at the 50-yard line. Okay. Um, Remember, the lead has this sideline until the trail is in position. Um, All right, so this is a great job of the single side official looking over his shoulder as he runs up the field. So we get our change in possession. This official is still helping to officiate the play behind him. If you can backpedal, if you can look over your shoulder, this is really helpful to you as an official. You can't just bury your head in the dirt and run to your spot. Okay, the game is still happening. And this is a fantastic example. You're going to watch this trail official right here. The ball is now going the other way. So he's the new lead. He is going to spin around to watch the box. Right? And here he goes. He is now backpedaling. He's got mixed colors running off the field. Nothing happens, but we got to have eyes on that play. And that's a play that it's really easy to miss. And in, a three-man competitive playoff game, like you can't say, well, we just didn't see that, coach. Right? That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for three guys who really know what they're doing, understand the mechanics, understand where the gaps in coverage are, and can make sure that we officiate that play. Here's a great job of the trail coming up slowly on the right side. And oh, red is going to run off. Hold on here. Another red is going to substitute on defensively. But our problem is that when red... Hold on. Hold, please. I stole this from a previous slide, and it has my viewer show play narration. There we go. Let's start that again. Trail is coming up on the right side here. Watches the sub. And then number seven here just runs out at like the 44-yard line. You have to go through the box. That's the stuff you're looking for. You don't see it a lot, but when you do see it, it's pretty egregious. And there's usually multiple minute fouls with bodies lying on the ground in front of both coaches. So that's good stuff to pay attention to. Um, all right. Over and back, we'll talk about this really quickly. Again, you got to work together, trail and single. Um, you got to move the ball back to the midline when the foul occurs. And it's not a quick restart, really. It's a deliberate restart, shall I say. So if you get the ball and it starts rolling back, okay, trail's got to get to the line, but the single has got to run up. I see singles just standing there, and I don't know if you're saying, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be up there, or I'm really tired and I don't want to run the other way again. But either way, that's your job. So the single has got to run. If the ball starts going that way, you start going that way. And right now, Trail has the over and back, so they're focused on the ball. And then the single is looking for the pushes and the shoves and the stepping over the line and all of that stuff. Got to help each other out. And when it is determined that we have over and back, the lead's going to be like, bring the ball back. And then the whistle should come as soon as that guy is ready at the midline. And I see singles sort of waltzing up and they don't know that it's their restart. It's your restart if it is an over and back situation and you're the single, right? And then you got to get down to help out. There's no need to stop and officiate the play at the top of the box. Get to where your spot is and still officiate the play. The trail is coming up, okay? Let's say the ball goes to the other side of the field. Oh, hold on, let's go. Well, I screwed that up, but let me explain what I'm trying to do here. Um, if the ball comes, can you guys see my cursor? All right, let me do. Basically, if the ball goes over the midline and it's closer to the single side should take whether or not the ball's over and back or whether or not it's been tipped. And the trail should take the pushes and the shoves because he's further away. Does that make sense? Um, that's just good mechanics here. Here's a good example. So we got to restart here. We're man up, and red is we're gonna blow it in here. Everybody's given the ready point. Boom. But unfortunately, we are going to have a shot, and it's going to be deflected. Look how the single and the trail are working here. I would like the single to be further down and closer to the goal. This is what I mean by you are too far out. Here comes the ball. The trail takes off. The single takes off. The trail is pushing the ball back, pushing the ball back. And then as soon as we're ready, we blow it in. This is really well done. This is a really well done example. Here's another one. Um, Ball goes over. And so this is what I'm talking about. I I think the trail here, who's on the top of your screen, has kind of the pushes and the shoves. If the single can get up here quicker, they're going to see that better, right? But the single's nowhere to be found here. The single has got to be, we got to be in the picture. One of the best pieces of advice I heard about being an official is if there's a critical play and you're not in the spot that you're supposed to be in, that's not good. Be in the picture, be in the frame when that play happens. Okay. That is speed, that is anticipation, and that is experience. Okay. Right. Final thing, reporting penalties and setting the field. Again, it's one of those moments where nobody thinks that anybody's watching. And we have a lot of things to do. We've got to report the foul. The trail's going to report the foul, or if it's a crazy foul, maybe the referee will report. You'll switch positions. That's fine. Or you guys had the foul. You go report it. We'll set the field. Um, C note, color, number, offense, time, explanation, and by explanation, announce when the foul is going to release. Blue 32 slash 1 minute. The foul will release at 10:13. That way, when the coach starts yelling, when is the 10:13, coach? You should tell the goalie that the foul releases. Tell the defense so that they know. They are looking up at the scoreboard too. So that's all really important stuff. You got to find the ball. The other two guys should be finding the ball, right? We shouldn't report the foul, turn around, and have no idea where the ball is. Um, Announce the release time and the restart location. The goalie and the defense and the offense need to know where the ball is going to be restarted. And like I said, I put the ball in my hand. Goalie, the ball is going to be side right. I will hand it to the player just before the restart, and I will either blow it in or I will run into position and give the ready point. Okay. There's no way we should have the wrong number of players. We are not starting unless we have the correct number of players. Always count, right? Um, Watch how he waits for the players to clear. Don't signal through 10 bodies. Everybody knows what the foul is here. Okay. A lot of you look like octopuses falling out of a tree. Okay. You need to slow down and really work on your signals. That is part of being a good official, right? You can't just get the calls right. You have to be able to communicate that information to everybody else. And I think, right? So this is what I mean by set the field. You got the flag. You are going to confirm with the crew. Trail's going to go do this, and you're going to get everything taken care of. All right. Let me stop my share. So I'm hoping that was helpful for guys. To recap, being a good dead ball official, setting the field, being a good transition official, continuing to officiate the play that you're running away from, and officiating responsibilities like the sub box, understanding that is, as the new lead, you have it first, and then as the trail coming up, you've got it. Which means as the trail, you've really got to get wide once that you're not worried about the goalie and the passer. Okay. Um, you got to be close to the crease and you got to be used to having bodies around you. You don't look like you're panicking. Okay. Um, the more film you watch, the more really good games. We got playoffs and big time conference play coming up. You've got NCAA conference play and playoffs coming up. There's a lot of really good lacrosse that's about to be on TV. So, avail yourselves of that. And if you have any questions, let us know. All right, y'all. Thank you very